on the bad side of the game. And you guys come back and win 3-0. Can you just talk about what it means to get a result, especially given the circumstances early on?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me with the group that I have, the character that they have. We talked about before the game that this game was going to be 3 points. We didn't know how it would go. I said that because you never know in a soccer game how it's going to go. There are PKs, there are goals that happen that you don't expect. There are red cards. You never know how a soccer game is going to go. But the good teams are prepared for everything, and we were prepared for that scenario. We've won a game already, being down a man. So you never like it. It's really rare, when it happens to win. But you just gotta stay focused. I thought we won the game in that period after we gave up, after we had the red, because until we got even numbers, a lot of teams would have given up the goal. We give up the goal, it's probably game over. So I thought in that, 25 minutes or so after we had the red, the way the guys dug deep, the organization they had, that was what put us in a position, I think, to win the game. And that says everything about the group, the character, and I've said it time and again. And I'm not surprised when they do things like this because I know I got a really good group of guys that can overcome anything. We've overcome a lot this year.
Jack, your goal came pretty late in this one. Long game, down to 10 men, but you arrive and you score the goal. Yeah. Can you tell us what you saw sort of in the lead up to that, with Darlington on the ball in the box? What was going through your head?
Yeah, like you said, it was later in the game, so it starts to open up at that point. We knew that when we were deep, if we could connect a couple passes and get out on the counter, there were going to be chances to be had. So obviously D got in a good spot, and I just tried to trail the play a little bit. He spun the guy 2 or 3 times and was able to lay it off to me. And to be honest, was just trying to pick the corner out. And, it was nice to see it hit the back of the net and get that second goal for sure.
How important was it? You said this game had to be 3 points, and obviously there's no such thing as a must-win game. But now with 10 games left, you guys are right there in position, versus being a pretty big distance from Kansas City, at least in the standings. How big was it to get the 3 points?
Yeah, it was big because if we didn't get the 3 points, or if they got 3 points, that's another team that starts to distance themselves. And we're confident no matter what, we're going to be in. But, you start to see, more teams, get 6, 7, 8 points away. Makes it more difficult. But we talked about it before the game. We can't do anything about the other games. All we can do is take care of business in this game. We can't play the other games either. So, everybody talks about all these other games and the results, and we don't get caught up in that, because you'll drive yourself insane trying to look at the other games and hope the teams lose. We can't do anything about that. So all we do, we stay locked on the next game. And that's what we did today, and that's what we're going to do for the next 10 games. And we're going to play at our level. We're not going to play at our current reality where we sit at the table. A lot of teams do that. A lot of teams, and you see it right now, they're playing based on what position they're in right now. And that's usually the psychology that happens this time of year. And, we have to fight that natural inclination because we're a lot better team. And we've shown it this year, a lot better team than where we sit. We showed it 2 games ago when we battered LA Galaxy. We battered them, 19-8. But soccer's funny sometimes. So everybody, looks at the result, looks at our table, and they think we're not a good team. That's not the case, and our guys don't believe that. We know we're better than we are, and we played better today than we are on the table. And you see other teams that are playing exactly where they are. Colorado's a good example. Why are they winning? They're winning because they've won. And I don't think they're any better than anybody else, but they have confidence, and they look at themselves in the mirror, they look at the table, and they see where they're at, and that's how they play. And then other teams that are down below, the psychology, you start to play how you are. And we're going to keep playing like we're one of the best teams in the league because we know we're capable of being that.
Coach, as a practical matter, when you lose a man that early, you have 30 minutes before halftime, and in this environment, how much can you actually instruct and get your tactical changes in place, and how much do you have to rely on just that being drilled into the team, this scenario being drilled into the team on the practice field?
Yeah, well, we've been through it before, so, and as a staff, we always prepare for it, always, because it happens in this game. So you saw it was a really easy move, slide Jack Mack over to the wing, drop Darlington in, next to Jack, which he's played that role before, earlier in the year, obviously, end of last year, he kind of played in around the holding mid, so he's used to that, he's good at that. Jack Mack's role changed a lot. Obviously, that's not an ideal role for him. But you saw he worked hard. He gave it everything. We always basically put 2 lines of 4. That's the best way to manage and absorb down a man. And then you hope to counter. Our shape once we won the ball was Jack Mack up, Valeri in, so kind of a 4-3-2 once we won the ball, and then a 4-4-1 once we defended.
This sort of game you can, take some momentum, the psychology that you were talking about earlier, as you go out for 2 straight road games looking for your first win on the road this season.
Yeah. I mean, sports, winning in sports is a lot about psychology, and we talked about that before the game. It's about individual psychology, it's about collective belief, and again, going back to what I said about Colorado, they're winning because they have a lot of confidence right now, and they don't have that external pressure. And I'm sure the coach is loose, the players are loose, and you play well. Well, we were pretty loose today too, going into the game, and a lot of teams aren't, and that's why we have a really mentally tough team and a good group of guys that, we don't let the current reality where we sit dictate how we play. So we're going to go into the next game and continue with that simple mindset, and not think about, what everybody else thinks about us, because that doesn't matter. What matters is what we think about ourselves.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't know yet. Not sure.
Coach, the fact that 78 minutes of this game wasn't played 11 on 11, how does that change or inhibit what you can learn and take from this game and apply going forward?
Well, we were going to play a 4-4-2, so we prepared.
We got to see that for 12 minutes.
To play a 4-4-2, and that changed after 10 minutes. But that's something you always have to be prepared for. It's why we spend a couple hours as a staff going through scenarios, up a goal, even down a goal, red card, their subs, everything, so, and we got an intelligent group of guys that can manage it on the pitch. You saw they didn't look really uncomfortable when we went down a man, and then when we went even, we still looked comfortable. So, what we can learn is that we can win games when we go down a man. We've done it twice. I'm disappointed we didn't get to see Jack Mack and Adi play together more like they did last Wednesday.
Diego Valeri got the opening goal. He drew the red card from SKC. Is this just another big game from him? What did you see from him today?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he drew the red card. He got kicked out. And a good call. And it's nice to see a ref have some code outs to be able to make that call, because it's a definite red. I thought he probably missed a penalty as well before that. But big players, especially attacking players, come up with goals. You saw it this weekend with Giovinco's a great example. So Valeri's doing what the big players do on good teams. You come up with big goals. He's done that for us time and again.
And Jack, Valeri getting that goal, how did that change things for you guys out on the pitch?
Yeah, it was huge. I think, that first half, being able to weather the storms, we got into halftime, kind of reorganized. It's 10 on 10 at that point. So we wanted to, the game changes at that point. The mentality when you're down a man and then all of a sudden it's even again. So we went into halftime and wanted to be on the front foot. We knew that they were still going to come at us. That's just the way they play. And there were going to be some openings. And I think we were tremendous tonight on the counter, and that's where a lot of those goals came from. But Valeri, an absolute tremendous finish from him, and it breaks the game open for us. And that's what you need from big players. And that's why those guys are on the roster, because they can do the special things, whether it's, that final ball that they play or a goal like tonight. he's one of those special players, and just blessed to have him on our team, to be quite honest.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.